You're looking at live scenes from Nags Head, North Carolina. Waves are crashing on shore in advance of Hurricane Bonnie, which is expected to make landfall somewhere along the Carolina coast later on today. Good morning. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Cheryl Lemke. Hurricane warnings are now covering a wider area as Hurricane Bonnie approaches with 115-mile-per-hour winds. In other news, showers are making it very wet this morning in Boston. Cleveland is seeing some partly cloudy conditions, and you'll find the streets in New York City are wet as you head off to work. Now, we start with the threatening conditions, though, across the southeastern coast. And for the very latest on Hurricane Bonnie, let's go to Marshall Seese in the Forecast Center.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel, tracking Hurricane Bonnie this morning. Latest information shows a little bit of slowing with Hurricane Bonnie, perhaps a couple of miles per hour. Still moving north-northwest, however, about 11 to 12 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center did expand the hurricane warnings last night to Edisto Beach, South Carolina. It also extended them northward to Chincoteague, Virginia. And as a matter of fact, we were talking with some of the emergency management folks in Norfolk, Virginia. There is some concern there for possible storm surge from this system later today and tomorrow. Many folks from North Carolina have evacuated northward. And we'll keep you advised as the morning goes on. But the greatest strike probability right now, southeast North Carolina, extreme northeast South Carolina. The current statistics place us at 32.4 north and 77.6 west. And this is the 5 a.m. advisory. It was 130 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina, probably now about 100 to 105 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina. Wind still 115 miles per hour. And its barometric pressure 965 millibars of mercury. Here's your radar, and it indicates a pretty well-defined eye here to the south of Wilmington, and it is still moving in this direction, getting some indications at Frying Pan Shoals, a buoy about 50 miles off the coast of North Carolina, of winds sustained at 75 miles per hour. Now, here's what the impact of those winds would have for you. Nags Head, Morehead City, Wrightsville Beach. We have 3 folks stationed in those areas. Now, currently, the 40-mile-per-hour winds will be affecting Wrightsville Beach within the hour. Probably the hurricane-force winds still a couple of hours away. This as of 7 o'clock this morning. At Nags Head Beach, Jeff Morrow is stationed from the Weather Channel. And at Morehead City, Jim Cantore has been there all night. And at Wrightsville Beach, we have Bill Keneely that we've been talking with all morning long, too. Bill, you've seen conditions deteriorate this morning. How would you describe them now?
In one word, wet. Wet and windy and getting wild, I'd say, Marshall. The winds are really starting to pick up now. Inside the hotel, we're starting to get some power surges where we're losing power briefly. It's like a brownout type of effect. Now, as far as damage goes, I've not seen or heard of any damage in the immediate area. Now, I want to hedge that by saying the damage reports, if there are some on the barrier islands, will be very sketchy and will be very few and far between for a while. The only reports we have are via the cell phones out there. And incidentally, they did cut the power a few hours ago out on the barrier island of Wrightsville Beach. We're in pretty good shape right here as far as getting around. You can do that, but I do want to caution everybody, the next high tide about 10:30 this morning, and the water, the tidal water, by the way, is about a half a mile to my right down towards what we call the Banks Channel and the Elise Cut area. And with that east wind, that is going to be our real concern, is very quickly rising water for this high tide, and it sounds like with the hurricane slowing, probably the next high tide later on tonight. Let's get a take on what's happening across the Onslow Bay now. Let's go to Jim Cantore and see how things are looking at this early hour in Morehead City. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning, Bill. I'm about an hour and a half north of you folks, and no doubt this morning we have seen the winds pick up a little bit. We've had a scattered shower. And by the way, we moved in from the barrier island last night. We're about a mile inland, but I want you to look back to our south, which is across the bay and out toward the barrier island, which is where I was last night. You can see the weather is very unsettling there as you work your way toward the seashore, and no doubt conditions are going to go downhill in a hurry. Now, of course, Bill's going to experience them first, and then I'm going to get them, and then eventually Jeff up at Nags Head will deal with them. But I'll tell you, everyone's ready here. We're just kind of awaiting on the bashing from Bonnie. Shelters are open this morning, schools are closed, and so far so good. It's just that anticipation of waiting and wondering when Bonnie's going to arrive. But don't be putting your guard down, folks, because I'm telling you, looking offshore with that radar, it's going to get ugly here in a few hours. Let's go up into the northern part of the Outer Banks. Jeff Morrow's at Nags Head. Let's get a live report from him. Jeff?
All right, Jim. Well, if things really aren't quite that bad yet where you are, things really aren't that bad yet here at all at Nags Head. But as you mentioned, please don't let your guard out or down. We do have a few people out on the beach, as you can see, and it's actually a very nice morning here for a walk along the beach. The surf has been up rather significantly overnight. Probably some pretty good 8 to 9 foot swells out there coming in on a east-southeasterly wind, but the sun is shining brightly. But again, it's just a matter of time before things start to go downhill here on the Outer Banks. We're at Nags Head, as you mentioned, but up and down the Outer Banks, it is deserted. The evacuation pretty much was carried out yesterday, and the only folks that are left, of course, are the news crews here and a few of the locals who have chosen to pretty much ride this one out. But there is still time for folks to get off the island here, obviously. If you still feel like you want to evacuate, probably that would be the most prudent thing to do as Hurricane Bonnie starts to move its way here a little bit later on today. That's it from Nags Head on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Let's go back to Marshall.